Hey everybody, today we have a special offer from our guest Lou with Hi Seltzers. Order anything from Hi Seltzers website and use the promo code ShrimpCity25 and you get 25% off and a gift. That's ShrimpCity25. We also want to remind everyone that you must enjoy functional beverages responsibly and be of the appropriate age to consume said beverages. Now on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Shrimp City Report. My name's Devin. I'm here today without DJ. He is involved with one of his other activities, so he is not able to be here today, but he'll be there next week. Do have someone we've been looking forward to having from Hi Seltzers. He is Lou Police, and it is pronounced as the law enforcement agency people are. Lou, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Devin. Thanks for having me. I guess DJ found out I was going to be on the show, so he found something better to do. I'm sorry.
No, he had something planned for a while, so and he does miss coming on. Lou is with High Seltzers. He'll explain the what that is and the benefits of it, how to find it, all that cool stuff. We wanted to have, like I said, we wanted to have him on the Shrimp City Report for a while because they do have quite a presence in Charleston, South Carolina, which we are from. And without further ado, let's hear a little bit about you, Lou, and what's your game?
Hey, man, thanks for having me. And by the way, did I hear correctly? Did you get snow in Charleston?
Yeah, 3 days of gridlock, everything coming to a halt.
Unbelievable. We have snow in Kentucky, so I'm in Kentucky right now, originally from North Carolina. But when all my friends started sending me photos of convertibles and palm trees covered in snow, I thought, well, what's next? The locust, maybe? Jeepers.
Yeah, it was nuts. And I have to say, I did like way too much prepping for it. I was like, I've been listening to tons of prepper podcasts and, out of Montana and stuff. So I was like, well, I need to do that. But yeah,
That's
it was a nice change of pace and it kept all our beverages cold.
Oh,
So,
there you go. I'm so glad to hear about your family's affinity for ours. I'm certainly
mm,
grateful for the opportunity to talk to you today. Real quick, I'll give you my background so we don't bore your listeners and then they start dropping off. I've been a first responder for about 23 years. I did some stuff with special forces. I fly airplanes for the Civil Air Patrol, EMT, firefighter, the whole nine yards. Kind of an adrenaline junkie, really.
mhm.
When people used to ask me if I did drugs or marijuana back when I was younger, the answer was always no, because I was always looking for some adrenaline fix. After college, I did some things with a big software company everybody's heard of, and then moved on to actually TV and film, which is ironic and a whole nother podcast I won't bore you with. But I did that for about 12 or 13 years. And then found myself with major sleep issues. A lot of people that do music and tour and things like that,
Mhm.
I know they suffer from sleep issues. And somebody suggested I try cannabinoids, THC, CBD, stuff like that. And reluctantly, I was pretty desperate, so I did,
Mhm.
and had such a profound effect on my life that I decided that I wanted to be involved in some form or fashion. So I started getting involved in the cannabis space around 2017, 2018. And then we started the High Collection. My partner and I started the High Collection in
Mhm.
February of 2023. So we'll be 2 years old next week. And so that's kind of how this all evolved quickly. In a nutshell, that's my background.
Okay, so that makes sense. That's kind of a interesting way that you came about that. It was kind of like you were in need. You were looking for an alternative, or you were looking for something, and here you go with a natural alternative that a friend exposed you to. Just going back to that, how quickly did you see benefits? Because I know that just all the pharmaceuticals that are on the industry to put people to sleep now it's profound. How quickly, I guess, did you see results?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm not necessarily anti-pharma, but
Hmm.
just there's certain, there's a time and a place, and I know that our bodies were designed to self-regulate and things like that. So I was, for myself, seeking something that was, natural, botanically based. And again, I just hadn't done a lot of, THC in my time. So
Hmm.
a little hesitant and skeptical. So CBD and CBN, which are, non-psychoactive, was where it started. The answer to your question is I noticed pretty quickly within about a week, I started regaining some of my sleep, my normal sleep patterns and things like that. even though in this space, because there's no regulatory oversight per se, you really can't make medical claims. However,
There you go.
CBD, CBD like has been studied by the National Arthritis Foundation. It's been studied by the World Health Organization. They talk about it as an anxiolytic or anti-anxiety. They talk about it related to sleep as an allosteric inhibitor, so it helps improve your REM cycle. For me, that's where I landed. I was like, my
Hmm.
anxiety seemed to come down and my sleep improved. And even though that's anecdotal, it was enough to basically change the course of my life. I don't take sleep meds.
Hmm.
Even as you and I sit here and talk, I'm probably getting 7, 8 hours of sleep every night. And it really, genuinely helps me function more than anything, more than caffeine or anything else, a good night's sleep. So that's how this kind of all started.
Okay, so you kind of got involved in the business or decided you wanted to do that. How did High Seltzers come to be? What was the progression from you dipping your toe into having High Seltzer, and kind of just describe number one what you envisioned, and number two, how you grew it.
Okay, thank you. It's an excellent question. So my business partner, when I was involved in the CBD space, primarily,
Hmm.
the non-psychoactive category of cannabis, prior to this, now my business partner, his name's Chris, he came into my office one time and he asked me, he said, are you doing anything in the Delta space? And I said, no. He said, well, you should look into it. I'm seeing a lot of things and you should consider it. And I was like, all right, thanks. See you next time. And he came back a couple weeks later. He goes, did you make a decision? Are you doing something in the Delta space? And I said, no. And he's like, you're being foolish. And he left. And he came back a third time, Devin, and he goes, hey, we're doing something together in the Delta space. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, I started a company. I go, what? And he said, it's you and me. We're partners. I started a company this week. And I said, okay, what did you call the company? He goes, Ludicrous. I go, what? He goes, Lou and Chris, Ludicrous. I'm like,
Clever.
okay, that's undeniable. I said, what do you got? And so we sat there and started talking about the proponents of hemp derived cannabinoids like Delta 8, Delta 9, HHC, and so on and so forth. And the fact that the 2018 Farm Bill had effectively made hemp derived products legal federally, so long as they met certain guidelines, which I can bore you with if you want, but like can't leave the ground with more than 0.3%
Hmm.
Delta 9 THC and you have to be careful how you formulate. But there was enough of a loophole that consumers were seeking out these products, versus traditional, cannabis, medical
Hmm.
marijuana, recreational marijuana. So Chris and I, we formulated these edibles. They're called Hi Gummies, and the way we came up with the brand is not as exotic and thoughtful as you would imagine. We were working on a brand together with an artist that we were very fond of, and we had an idea. And we got to the last day, Devin, before we had to, pull the trigger on the artwork and the printing and stuff. Tens of thousands of dollars. Chris, in true Chris form, walked in and he was like, "I hate this design," and then he walked out. And I was like, "We go to print tomorrow." And so here's what I do. I don't know about you, but I put on my studio headphones. I put on death metal, so I drowned out everything. And I sat there on PowerPoint and created the High Seltzer or High Gummy logo that you see now.
Yeah.
It was all by happenstance. It's gone off pretty well. It seems to be, very recognizable. People know us. They understand what the brand is and all that. But that's the origin of the brand and how we sort of came up with the edibles first. And then, we segued very quickly when we saw the velocity of how the edibles
Hmm.
were doing. And we moved to the drink.
So, sometimes it's those exasperating moments that you get the clarity, or at least you get the immediacy to produce. So I can feel you on that one. So the business, was it just the two of you that started it? Is it just the two of you? How's that grown?
So it's an excellent question, and I'll consolidate it. The short version is Chris and I started the company, but within minutes, hours, days, we started adding people to the roster because they'd all tried, they tried the prototypes of the gummies. We added
Hmm.
two young college MBAs, one who has now since gone on to get his Pharm D, still works with us. We reached out to some of our industry friends. They got involved quickly. And then it just began to sort of evolve and, friends of friends and things like that. And yeah, it went from two people on February 3rd to well over 24 people
Hmm.
less than 2 years later.
Wow, that's great. So I assume with any business model, you do have your executive, or at least your your hefes, and then I imagine marketing has been a challenge. I'm sure the effort, was substantial to start with. By the way, you guys getting Hi Seltzers, the HI, that was just a coup of, marketing that I think is great. I assume you have folks that are currently on task to do that and grow and evangelize your product, right?
Yes, and thank you for the compliment. I always respond when someone says that with an old adage you've heard is even a broken clock gets it right twice a
Hmm.
day. It was that random experience, so we're really proud of it. It's marked, people recognize it. Somebody said there's a 10-foot rule or something like that. If you can recognize the brand from 10 feet away, you're doing something right.
Yeah, cool.
Anyway,
Yes.
so as it related to, our marketing and initiative and stuff like that, we really only have two sort of focuses. I mean, you can extrapolate,
Hmm.
Devin, but there's only really two focuses at the High Collection or at High Seltzer, and that's produce good quality product and tell the story or promote our product. I mean, make it so we always said, man, if it's in every store in the country and people don't know about it, they probably won't buy it. And that's a fail. And if you
Yeah.
tell an amazing story, but people can't get it, can't go and find it and buy it and enjoy it, also a fail. So it was we entered the track in, excuse me, in 2023. There were about 40 brands. As you and I sit here tonight, there are over 1,100 brands. So I use a race analogy for all your friends and fans and listeners who are race enthusiasts.
Hmm.
We got on the track at 100 miles an hour and we have not touched the brakes. So trying to do repairs and, I don't know, change the oil at 100 miles an hour has been a challenge, but it's been about making great quality products, putting them in the market, and then telling people about, telling them our story, which again, your podcast is incredible. And I'm super
Hmm.
grateful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. That's getting it out there. I'm sure that's struggle getting shelf space with now 1,100 products. I have to imagine that, like you said, put out great products. The taste is a huge consideration because, I mean, this is something that you consume. There are benefits to it that are, can go unstated at this point. But at the end of the day, you want to taste good. You want to have a variety of stuff. And you guys have a lot of flavors. How do you settle on, the taste complexion? So do y'all sit around a big room and just, honk on a bunch of, flavors and prototypes?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. We order snacks and we sit around
Hmm.
and we drink high seltzer until you can't stand.
Yeah.
We do little sips. We're not drinking full cans, but
Right.
yeah, that's exactly what we do. It might be fun. You just inspired an idea.
Hmm.
I'll give you credit for the marketing. Is maybe we'll do something where we'll do a contest and invite winners to come and help us formulate the next flavor or something like that. That'd be kind of fun. They could see the process. It's not glamorous.
Hmm.
It's a lot of fun, but there's nothing sexy about it. And that might actually be something fun. Maybe with your permission, we'll try to promote that and get you guys involved. That'd be
Absolutely. Not only that, my wife is a fan of the berry stuff, and it seems like everybody I know is into the lemon lime. Honestly, what I've heard, and this is deviating from the whole flavor and stuff, the 0 calorie. I mean, I just think that is such a game changer.
Well, it's an excellent point. And when people talk about our brand, the 0 calorie, zero sugar, zero alcohol, components resonate. Here's something interesting. I know you've already probably thought through is,
Hmm.
people ask about our demographic, Devin, and we used to think it was, I don't know, 29 to 49, the soccer mom category.
Hmm.
And I'm thrilled to tell you we were wrong. Our demographic is 21 to 101
Hmm.
diabetics who can't have sugar. Now they can enjoy a functional beverage as an adult. So the alcohol component is not an option for people like that. Now they can have something with zero sugar, but actually functions very quickly. We'll talk about that.
Hmm.
Athletes, people who count carbs and macros. I didn't even know what a macro was two
Right.
years ago. And they can enjoy our product because it's so low dose and the concentration is very low. We articulate that a can of high seltzer is like drinking a glass and a half of wine.
Yeah.
So if you know as an adult how you feel with that, it's very pleasant. It's not off-putting. It's not intimidating. You're not going to go up into orbit. You're not going to raid the fridge. And you can enjoy something socially with your friends and your family without worrying about, like you said, the calories, the
Hmm.
headache. the dehydration, the weight gain, and so on and so forth. So, as much as I'm not anti-pharma, I'm also not anti-alcohol. We just want to be an option for people who are seeking an alternative.
I am seeing more these days. There is more space in retail establishments that are now for functional beverages, alternative spirits, this and that, even non-alcoholic stuff. So getting back to the flavors really quick.
Mhm.
This stuff comes from hemp. Okay. So that maybe sounds like, how can that possibly be tasty? I mean, frankly, what is hemp? What is the historical significance? It is a version of cannabis, or what's, for someone who's never heard of that? Just a quick,
Yeah, let's
yeah.
talk about it. Okay, so the hemp plant and the cannabis plant, traditional marijuana,
Hmm.
they are the same plant. They look the same, they smell the same, they grow the same. As a genus, they're basically the same. The difference is the amount of THC, which is the functional ingredient, the functional cannabinoid that exists in the plant when it leaves the ground. We won't have to go into all the technical details, but
Cool.
hemp is basically the cannabis plant. It's grown legally, pursuant to the Federal Farm Bill of 2018.
Mm.
Actually, back in the 1800s and early 90s, it was widely consumed. Humans consumed it. They use it for animal feed. It wicks water, Devin, better than almost any natural material. So,
Huh.
I mean, that's why Patagonia released their entire hemp line a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's lots of different either textile, construction, medicinal, applications. But it was, obviously during Prohibition that it became federally illegal and people couldn't, use it or exploit all the natural benefits.
Hmm.
And then until the Farm Bill ratified that, and then federally it became legal. And so it's basically the same plant. It just doesn't have as much of the functional THC, which is why we can add it to our product with just water and just organic natural fruit without any preservatives or juices. I mean, we even pasteurize, so we don't have to add an antimicrobial, which again goes to your earlier compliment that's why it tastes great, because it's
Hmm.
just natural fruit and it's and then water. I mean, that's basically it.
Okay, that makes sense. I did not even know that that kind of product could be pasteurized because, usually you think of milk or something. So the Farm Act, it allowed you to use the extraction of Delta. You guys are Delta 9 exclusively, right?
Yeah, that's right. Originally, we were Delta 8 when we first came on the track, but we quickly pivoted. We saw the transition coming, and so now we're exclusively hemp derived Delta 9.
Okay, so you had to pivot for the transition. Was that because of any kind of regulatory compliance or anything like that, or was that?
No, what we were seeing, Devin, back in late 22, early 23 was, and there's always this in any industry, we'll call them less than savory, the bad actors.
Hmm.
They were importing Delta 8 from offshore, mainly China, but offshore, because there's a process where you can synthesize in a lab and create basically synthetic Delta 8 THC.
Oh, wow.
And so even though we were using naturally occurring hemp derived Delta 8 THC, we were lumped into a category of people who were trying to cut the corners and do that kind of stuff. So the states began to heavily regulate it. And so we decided that we had our Delta 9 formulation ready to go. It was time to basically, take the JV squad off the field and put the varsity squad on the field.
Oh, I see. So that makes sense. I like how you're actually self-policing yourselves, no pun intended. And it makes good sense. So that's why the shift to Delta 9. And that's kind of concerning to people that do consume these products, that the Delta 8 that's at the convenience store may be from unsavory origins.
So here's my advice for your listeners. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what products, especially in the cannabis space, because there's not a lot of oversight, it's the Wild West, if you will. Check the ingredients, check the lab reports, check the certificates of origin, figure out where anything you're consuming, where it came from. If a brand like ours is not willing to share the lab reports that they should
Mm-hmm.
have conducted on the ingredients, maybe double think or rethink putting it in your body. Brands like ours, and there's a lot of really good brands out there, Devin,
Mm-hmm.
and they put their lab reports on their websites. They're fully transparent. I think that's really important. And one of the things that we do, which you haven't asked about, but I anticipate you will, is we get heavily involved in the regulatory landscape. So we police ourselves, we police our peers, and we expect that if you're going to do this responsibly and present something that consumers will take into their bodies, you have to do it in, in the best possible way. So the long-winded answer is check the labs.
I mean, that gives a such a level of consumer confidence. Friends in the business that do the same thing are doing that because there's a lot of questions. And, in this kind of stuff, and you said it was Wild West, your regulatory compliance, your adherence to that stuff, that's also very comforting, I think, to an end user, a consumer.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we, my parents drink it, my family, my wife, my friends. And so it's important to me that whatever it is, and that's when Chris and I started doing this, we agreed early. We're either going to do it better than anybody or we're not going to do it at all. And so we're doing our best to try and live up to that.
Okay. So it's a better, healthier alternative, out there. And you spoke a little bit about that. I mean, you can just start with, hey, no hangovers, right?
Well, there is that. I mean,
Mhm.
I could go into, I won't sales pitch you, but I can go into, you can't make medical claims, right? But
Mhm.
what I can do, Devin, is I can share what other people have shared with us. So I can tell you that we've got consumers that, feel like it's giving them a better night's sleep. And yeah, you could extrapolate and do the research and figure out why. I mean, I could bore you all day long with the pharmacokinetics of why that could potentially work. People who say, hey, listen, when I come home, I'm wound up like a top. I just want to slow down and unwind. But I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night because all that alcohol I drank converted to sugar and woke me up at 3 a.m. I want to get a good
Mhm.
night's sleep, or I don't want to, feel like, my favorite jeans don't fit any longer because the alcohol consumption. So there's all kinds of reasons that people decide to consider, a functional alternative. And so, part of what we'd like to do is help educate. I think if you educate the consumer and you present options. This competition is good. Education is good because an informed consumer, who feels like, they can trust your brand, they'll be loyal. I am with brands
Mhm.
that I trust. You'll be loyal forever. And that's what we want. I want to earn people's business. We want to earn their trust and we want to keep delivering on, good quality products. I mean, it's not rocket surgery.
I always love that phrase. Yeah, and so I guess you understand your market well. I guess that's also a moving target. You said there's 1,100 competitors now. You guys do gummies and seltzers. You said the gummies came first. What'd you do with the gummies? A few months, and then that's when the seltzers took off.
It's the same story I shared with you before,
Yeah.
except
Okay.
another version of it. No. It's the same. Remember, I told you how Chris used to like to walk through my office and drop nuggets on me?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
did. We were 5 or 6 months in on the gummies. I think we made 10,000 bags. That's a lot of bags of
That
gummies.
is a
I mean, we're
lot.
going to be
Yeah.
eating, if nobody buys them, that we're going to have gummies for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And they were gone in a matter of a few weeks, like,
Right.
a couple months. And Chris, this is actually true. I tell this all the time. Again, he walked to the office, stood in front of me, and he said, hey, let's make a drink. And he walked
Hmm.
out. You got to meet him. He's got a face for radio. You'd love it.
Okay.
But he's one of those guys that he's just, he's very cerebral, which is perfect for us because as you can probably imagine, I'm not quite as thorough, but he loves this space. He loves, what we've done. And it's really, again, it's super simple. The gummies are still going gangbusters.
Hmm.
I think if people buy seltzers, there's a special, you get gummies. But here's the interesting thing. A can of seltzer only has 5 milligrams of hemp derived Delta 9 THC.
Okay.
Okay. 5 mgs in a can. A gummy has 10. So for people that are looking for a little bit more of a relaxing effect, they, eat a gummy. You could
Okay.
drink the seltzers all day long, but, for me, again, I take cannabinoids to sleep. If I really want to go to sleep, Devin, I'll eat a gummy about an hour before bed. The seltzers come on in 8 minutes. You'll feel the
Oh,
effects of a
wow.
seltzer in 7 to 8 minutes. But a gummy has to go through normal, metabolism, so it takes about 45 minutes. But yeah, people love them, and we use the same ingredients, all natural, pectin, very low sugar, and the same base nano, the same active ingredient.
Okay. Have y'all considered any other deviation with the product, or I don't know what other products, but are you content right now with the gummies and the seltzers?
Yeah, it's a good question. If and you've heard the adage, and I'm not an expert, but if you do too many things good, you won't do anything great.
Hmm.
And so the answer to your question is no, we're going to stick with the drinks. I will, share with your listeners that there's something very exciting and special coming out in a couple of months, about 2 months, the beginning of Q2, that is not a deviation. It's still a beverage, but it's going to be slightly sort of deviation or alternative from what we're currently doing. So I think it'll be pretty exciting for the consumer. We're going to stick with our same flavors. We're not looking to change flavors every season, 5 times a year.
Hmm.
It'll be the standard 6 flavors. The gummies will be the same, but we're just not a brand that wants to diversify too much. There's so many different things you can do. You can do mushrooms, you can do hemp flour, you can do edibles, you can do all kind of vapes. It's just too much. We just want to do one thing or two things really, really exceptionally, and hopefully our consumers will appreciate that.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of sense, frankly. It's like when you go into a restaurant and they have 40 things on the menu, and you're like, very suspect that you could do 40 things correctly. I've been to your website before, nicely laid out. There are great promotions on there, we have noticed. So, those kind of promotions have got to help, frankly, moving product. How has social media helped you guys? Have you embraced that? And what other kinds of, I guess, advertising is your bread and butter?
So it's a good question. Things like these podcasts are a great
Hmm.
way for our brand to reach out and touch a lot of different consumers on various platforms. We work with gamers and streamers, on
Yeah.
Twitch, which I'm too old for that, but they love the product. We do traditional social media and ads on all the platforms. We do things like geofencing. So if there's a Total Wine and More near you, it's been geofenced, however far a mile out, and
Hmm.
so people will get targeted advertising. We do special mailers, email blasts. We have a subscription platform where people can actually subscribe and get discounts. It's probably premature, Devin, but
Hmm.
I wanted to tell you we set up a special discount just for your listeners. Do you want to know about it now, or do you want to wait?
No, go ahead and let us know now.
All right, so it's the code is Shrimp City 25.
Okay.
You're going to get 25% off of your entire order, whether you order 1 4-pack or a pallet. And then there's going to be, I'm told there's going to be at least 1 or 2 free gifts, surprise gifts in there. Very unique,
Oh, right on.
very on brand free gifts in there for your listeners.
Well, we do have listeners of every age and background, and I know that that will be definitely something they're going to look forward to. I appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And we will be sharing the hell out of that. So, so let's get back to you've brought the company to where you want. You have a wide array of good product. You are honest with your customers. And hell, you're a pretty engaging guy anyway. You said you've got a new drink concept coming up. Where do you guys want to take High Seltzer? Do you look 5 years down the road, or is it hard enough to look 5 months down the road?
Well, you already know the answer because you asked that question perfectly. The velocity is the term that I use has been nearly breakneck. I'm not complaining, right? I mean, we love what we do, the people we work with, the vendors we have, our partners, our customers, our distributors. But yeah, we're moving very, very quickly. As an example, when we first started, Devin, I think we built like 25,000 cans, and then we went to 50,000
Hmm.
cans in a matter of 5 months, and we were panicked. I mean, forget the gummies, 50,000 cans of seltzer. You could float a battleship
Wow.
with 50,000 cans of seltzer. And that was a little over a year and a half ago. And again, as a reflection on the team, because I'm just a brick in the wall, we're doing 1.2, 1.4 million cans a month now. So we'll do 20 million cans this year. So at a velocity like that, when you go from 50,000 every 2 or 3 months to 20 million cans or more in a year, it's hard to keep your head on straight. However, because we haven't deviated from the core product line, our only goal is to make quality products and tell people about them. So putting them on the internet, putting them on social media, distribution around the country with some of the most incredible partners, and then obviously retail and what they refer to as on premise.
Hmm.
So places like in Charleston where you go to have one of those incredible meals that's not a menu with 700 items on it,
Hmm.
it's like six,
Right.
and they're all amazing. People can find our product.
But that's a good point because we're used to seeing it in, I guess, retail space or, the cool places that have it. But these things starting to hit the menus at restaurants and bars, that's really a boon. You mentioned getting into the millions of product moved. Is there any concern ever? And I was just thinking about this. last night. It was a question I added. Is there concern with big companies or big outfits like InBev or Nestle or Molson Coors or something? Do you anticipate them coming to sniff around once you start showing this level of success?
Anticipate no longer, because the answer is 100% yes.
Okay.
They're all, unfortunately, alcohol as a category had a very bad 2024. Whether it's beer, wine, spirits, it just didn't go well.
Hmm.
I mean, you saw the Surgeon General's warning just a few weeks ago. As a category, alcohol is struggling. So yeah, these big brands, you could name 100 of them. They all have the resources. They all know what's happening. They're seeing the velocity. They're seeing brands like ours and
Hmm.
others really penetrate the market. Again, it's like anything else. I could make 20 million cans, but if the consumer doesn't want it, it's irrelevant. The consumer demand is almost insatiable now for this category. For anybody north of 21,
Hmm.
whether they're seniors like my folks or they're even college students like we know, people are seeking out hemp derived products, alternatives. And and so yeah, the big brands are looking at it. I would argue, Devin, and I've shared this with other people, I think there's massive reputation risk for these big alcohol brands. So I think they're going to wait and see. 1,100 brands up from 40 in
Hmm.
25 months. Somebody's got to go, right? So some of these are just going to fall off for whatever reasons, or
Sure.
they'll just service a small category. But I think the big market leaders are going to wait and see what brands begin to really emerge, and then yeah, I think you're going to see some interesting movement probably in the next 3 years.
Yeah, I guess that is natural, evolution, natural selection. So let's talk about how we can get in touch with you, how we can purchase, and any other promotions you have going on.
All right. Well, again, thank you. You can find us on the internet, of course, at hiseltzers.com.
Hmm.
You can find us across all the social media platforms. I think our handle is at Hi Seltzers. If you want to reach out, if you want to email us, if as much as I would love to communicate with all your listeners, we do have some people in the office who check those. So the email is support@highseltzers.com.
Okay.
And if anybody sends an email that they want to hear from me personally, I will absolutely do my best. The discount, for Shrimp City 25 is going to stay up for at least a week
Okay.
or two after your podcast airs. And again, if there's anything we can do for you and your customers, answer questions, I think you're going to see some fun things coming out of our brand, Devin, this year. We're doing some very key strategic partnerships that'll be rolled out across the whole country. You're going to see an education campaign from our company like I don't think anyone's ever seen in this space, being rolled out across the whole country.
Hmm.
And we're going to be doing some fun events in South Carolina, including in Charleston this spring. So it'd be great to see you and your son, and then also meet some of your listeners and all that. So we'll keep you posted on those events.
Okay, excellent. That's great because Lord have mercy, Charleston loves a festival, a gathering, a weekend, something. You're guaranteed a lot of people, even if it's just by happenstance. So
Well, and,
that's
and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can I
mhm.
just share your local Charleston resident musician, Mark Bryan from Hootie and the Blowfish, has been a longtime proponent of our brand. He's actually one of the members of our company. And I think he, every now and again, people in Charleston will bump into Mark, be bopping around town
Mhm.
and stopping in for some food and a high seltzer. So if you see Mark, take a selfie and send it to me.
Yeah, we will for sure. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit of name recognition. I mean, Hootie and the Blowfish, they had I guess a amount of success, you could say.
We had the privilege, Devin. I'm not sure if you know this, of being out on the road with Mark and
Mhm.
Darius and the guys. And Mark was wearing custom high seltzer gear and throwing guitar picks into the audience and
Yeah.
doing meet greets. It was super rad. They're amazing guys, incredible musicians, and I know Mark loves to call Charleston home.
Excellent. Their reputation precedes them. And now you are a new friend of ours, and we will extol your reputation as well. And High Seltzer, of course. That's going to wrap it up for us. Of course, you can reach the Shrimp City Report on shrimpcityreport.com and also iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music. I run out of being able to tell these every week. So I really appreciate you coming on, man. It was very interesting. And we shall share that promotion and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
That's awesome, Devin. Thanks very much. Take care.
Bye.